So today's recording, most probably, I will share with all of you. There are 5 uh, free classes, but it is not like that I will share all the 5 recordings. Okay, that is the first thing. Second thing, uh, before I start some technical discussions here, I would like to tell you something not about PowerShell, but about the learning approach, right? So before I start something, let me introduce myself. I am Neeraj Mishra. I have more than 20 years experience in IT industry. I am a SQL database architect right now. And so far PowerShell is concerned, having I have more than 10 years of experience in PowerShell, especially for automating SQL Server desktops. All the administrative tasks usually you do uh, that can be, automated. So it saves the time. At the same time, it ensures the accuracy of the work that you are doing, right, manually. So if you do the same work over and again, you may commit mistake, but the beauty of automation anywhere is that it does not only save your time, but also it performs the task with same accuracy every time. It doesn't matter you perform the same task more than 1,000 times. That is the first thing where automation comes in picture. So automation is all about the 2 things: to save the manual efforts and times, plus perform the work with accuracy, right? Now, before you learn any technology or any topic especially, right, you should question yourself why you are learning. What is this? Why you are learning and what you should learn, right? That is the 3 basic questions you should ask to yourself, right? So if I say simply what PowerShell is a scripting language which was primarily introduced by Microsoft to automate tasks for some of the applications which are native to Microsoft. When I say some of the applications which are native to Microsoft, that refers to the Active Directory, Windows operating system, and Active Directory, which is created in your domain controller. So all the Active Directory manipulations or administration can be done using PowerShell. Second, other applications which are based on Windows operating system, such as SharePoint, right? Your complete SharePoint administration can be done using PowerShell. But the most important thing is that Microsoft SQL Server is a native application or a tool to Windows operating system, right? So it can be very well, automated and managed using PowerShell. So in a nutshell, what I can say, PowerShell is a scripting language which is used to automate Windows-based Microsoft native tools or Microsoft native, application softwares. So it can be used to automate administrative tasks for Windows operating system. Uh, Again, Active Directory is the part of Windows operating system where you have the domain controller. So you can automate all the administrative tasks of Active Directory. You can automate administrative tasks, all administrative tasks, starting from installation of SQL Server to creation for the always-on cluster, backup, restore, disaster recovery, whatever you use, login creation, backup, restore, TD implementation, transparent database encryption implementation for databases. And apart from that, the information gathering from SQL Server, sometimes you have to gather same information that how many cores you have assigned to each of the SQL Server. that you have to gather for the licensing purpose, right? This is just a simple example. Or you may have to create an inventory for your SQL Server, which should include uh, all the SQL Server versions, editions, right, etc. So yes, all these tasks can be done, easily with PowerShell. So the answer to the first question, what PowerShell is a scripting language used to automate administrative tasks, basically, right, for the Windows best Microsoft native applications. That is the first thing. But now Microsoft, this PowerShell can also be used in Linux environment as well. If you have SQL Server hosted on Linux, you can automate the same steps that you are doing here. That can be done on Linux operating system as well. For that, you have to install a few extensions on your Windows VM. Right after that, you can do that. So that we will not cover, to be very precise, to be very clear. Second thing is that what you are going to learn, right? So in the 5 days of the free sessions, you are going to learn the basics of PowerShell, because in 5 days, you cannot learn all the stuffs. And sessions are from 1 to, basically it will be of 90 minutes, right? I will try to make 90 minutes for each of the session. So during 5 days, you will learn about basics of PowerShell, and basically you will have to learn PowerShell in terms of a programming language, right? So once you have the basic knowledge of PowerShell, after that, you will have to learn, database stuffs, especially for SQL Server in PowerShell, right? So I can say that this course I can divide into 2 parts: basics of PowerShell, and then the database steps which are related to PowerShell, right? So 2 things we have to learn here. Okay. So now the question is here that what we are going to learn here, right? So what are the things that comes under basic? So under the basic, you will learn about what PowerShell is. I don't think that is much emphasis we have to do on the brief history of the PowerShell, right? Then you will have to learn about PowerShell environment, PowerShell console, PowerShell ISE, right? That is the integrated development environment for PowerShell. How you can run PowerShell as an administrator, right? What are the execution policies that we have to execute PowerShell scripts, right? That we have to understand when to use what execution policies, right? What are the different versions of PowerShell we have? What are PowerShell CMDlets? These CMDlets are called commandlets, right? So we will talk about that. What is the naming convention for each of the CMDlet? That we will learn, right? Okay. That's fine. So I suppose all are in now. Then how many of you know about commands in Windows operating system? So CMDlets are like commands in PowerShell, but technically they are different. I will talk about that, right? Then you have some, what we say is assemblies, right? The concept of assemblies. When I will teach you, I will try to explain what those assemblies are. and why we have to include those assemblies in PowerShell before we call any of the CMD in the PowerShell script, right? We will talk about then we will talk about the perhaps it is mentioned below or where it is perhaps not mentioned here, but we have to learn about the language constructs, right? So what are the different language constructs you have? PowerShell is a scripting language. A scripting language, when we say, means that it's a programming language. That what are the programming constructs we have in PowerShell, right? So we have a few programming language constructs. For conditional checking, we have if and switch to a statements. For looping, we have for, and for has 3 variations: for each, and then for each object. Then you have do and while, right? So these are the programming constructs you have. Apart from that, for error handling mechanism, you have catch, try, catch, and throw. So these are the programming constructs you have. But before that, you will have to learn about variables in PowerShell. What are the variables? What are the different data types we have, right? So these are the things, these are the steps you will have to learn. Then when you will have the knowledge of variables, constants, right, and programming constructs, you will be in the position to write shell script by yourself, right? And if you know these all things, you can even you can modify any script as well. And finally, there are different ways to run PowerShell scripts. So I will tell you what are the different ways to run the PowerShell scripts. You can run that as well. How you can get the help on a particular commandlet in PowerShell, that we will talk under the basics. So this section will be covered in 2 or 3 classes, and after that I will cover a few basics of PowerShell for databases also, right? So here we have concept of in module 2. I will teach you this everything. Model of SQL concept of SQL PS model, concept of mini cell, SQL PS utility, concept of a snap session, concept of assemblies. This is very important, concept of assemblies, right? And then you will have to understand SQL Server Management Objects, that is the SMO object. This is very important for manipulating any instance, right? This we will discuss. So these 2 models I will try to cover in 5 days, right? And hopefully I will cover this. Apart from that, whatever now you see, right, comes under the advanced course of the PowerShell. So we will talk about the information gathering, how you can gather the information from SQL Server. What are the current number of processors that you have on the server that you can gather? What is your memory configuration that you can gather information? What is the disk space you have on each drive, and how much disk space is free that you can gather the information? What is your network setting that you can gather information? What are the hot fixes and service packs are stored or are installed on your system that you can gather, right? What are the different instances you have installed on a SQL Server? That information you will gather. What are the services that is running with which service account that you can gather? You can gather the error log information, right? Kalu is there? Hello, Kalu? Kalu is not there. Okay. How to start and stop any service, not only SQL service, how to start and stop any service in Windows operating system, that we will learn, right? How you can change a service account for SQL Server, how you can change SQL Server instance setting using PowerShell script, that we will also learn. So these are the steps we will talk in module 3. Then here you have different administrative stuff that you do. So the course is not only limited to these all that you see here, right? So basically, let me tell you one thing, that automation starts from installing PowerShell, installing SQL Server automatically using PowerShell, right? That we will talk. But most of the people are stuck where when you are asked to install SQL Server from one server to another server, right? If you are asked to install SQL Server automatically using PowerShell on the same server where you have the media, right? SQL media or SQL installation file, you can do that easily. But if you are asked to do installation of SQL Server on 100 servers from one server, right? That is tough. That can be done using PowerShell, although that is a task, considered to be performed using any of the DevOps tool. That DevOps tool, you can use Teradata, Terraform, not Teradata. Teradata is a data warehouse, right? Terraform, you can use Ansible, you can use GitLab Runner, right? But there are two approach for installing SQL Server on more than one servers. There may be a call that you have to install SQL Server 2017 or 19 on more than 50 servers or more than 100 servers at one go, right? Without any manual intervention. How you can do that? That can be done using PowerShell. In PowerShell, we have two approaches. One using the remote sessions, we can do that. Another is using the desired state of configuration, right? That approach can also be deployed. So we will talk about those approaches under the course. We will do the implementation as well. When you talk about administration, that is your first task installation of SQL Server. The second task, I would not say the second task, but the rest of the tasks, you can talk that you have to create databases, you have to take the backup of databases, you have to restore databases, right? Then you have to encrypt databases using transparent data encryption. You have to create always on cluster, right? That always on cluster can be created, easily with the PowerShell script. You don't have to do anything. You just run a PowerShell script, that always on cluster will be created. I will show you, I will teach you during this course. And after that, you can add databases that will be also automated into that. You can create an availability group automatically through PowerShell script. After that, databases can be added in the PowerShell script, right? You can write the script to remove databases from availability group as well. Then if we talk about user management, under the user management, you can create logins. Say, for example, you are asked to create a single login to 100 servers. How you can do that? Automatically, right? If you do manually, you will have to connect to 100 of the servers individually, and 100 times you have to execute the same create login script on 100 servers. So that is not a smart way of administration, and companies do not like that approach. So the approach is here that you create a single script, run from your test server, right? And that login should be created within 1 or 2 minutes or 3 minutes on all the servers, right? That you can do. Then you can also drop the login as well, right? You may be asked to create users, a single user in all databases on the instance, right? Then how you can do that, right? That we will talk. So on in each of the database, all the users should be created, right? So we are not only limited to these all things, right? Reorganizing of indexes, rebuilding of indexes, right? Managing the permission, on even on granular level, that everything can be done using the PowerShell. So whatever you think that you are doing as a SQL DBA for the database administration, you can automate that task using PowerShell. Nothing is impossible, right? Then this is very important to know that what are the different ways or what are the different approach you have to query your SQL server using PowerShell. So I would say the most effective way and the most efficient way to query SQL Server using PowerShell is ADO.NET, but a very few people know about ADO.NET. This is the same ADO.NET, which is the part of what I would say is it's not a part actually. It's come under your .NET framework itself, right? Like ASP.NET, where you create web pages and manipulate web pages using the ADO.NET. You can connect not only to SQL Server but other databases also, and then you can manipulate your databases. You can administrate your databases as you wish, right? So we will talk about ADO.NET, from where it is coming and how to use this. So this is very interesting to use ADO.NET feature from PowerShell, because ADO.NET is a part or component of .NET framework, right? Or .NET, you can simply say. The second and most commonly used approach for querying and manipulating or administrating SQL Server database objects is your SQL Server management object. So from where the SQL Server management object is coming, when I say SQL Server management object, it is an object of a class of SMO, right? I will show you when the time will come. I will show you that what is SMO and how we can create an SMO of the object class. So for that, you will also have to understand some concepts of object-oriented programming, because PowerShell approach of programming is completely based on object orientation, right? So to have good understanding on PowerShell, you must know about the basics of object-oriented programming, what a class is. For example, how can you create an object of a particular class by instantiating that object, by instantiating that class, right? So some terms may be new to you, that what is class instantiation, right? Actually, technically we say we call that object instantiation, but that is implemented on a class, right? Then when you create an object by instantiating a class, right, then that object has some properties which are its attributes. That object has some methods using which you can define that how that object will behave or what you want to do with that object, right? So every object in object-oriented programming has some properties and methods that we will talk about, right? Another approach of manipulating SQL Server and querying SQL Server is invoke SQL CMD let. This is most frequently used by DBAs because they find themselves pretty much comfortable when they use invoke SQL CMD command, because you can use your SQL script, right? when you are using invoke SQL CMD, you will not rely, you will not have to be depend on PowerShell. You can use whatever SQL script you have to perform a particular operation. Say, for example, take an easy example here. If you want to create a login in SQL Server, right? So there are different ways to do that. One way is you create that login using the SMO server class using PowerShell, or within PowerShell, you can execute the invoke SQL CMD by calling your create login statement that is written in SQL. You all are getting me, guys, what I am saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So whatever I have explained, any question you have up to that, feel free to ask. I want every session interactive, right? So whenever you think that you have some question, feel free to ask. So there are a lot of things that you will learn, but the most important thing here is that what are the different ways you have, or what are the different approach or methods you have to interact with your SQL Server, especially, I would say, because it's not only about the querying SQL Server using PowerShell, but after querying something, you also do some operation on that. So it's interaction, right? You can do that using SQL Server Management Object. And in short, it is known as SMO object, which is created from server.smo class. You can interact using ADO.NET, where we have a beautiful concept of, data adapter, SQL data adapter. Then we have one concept of data set, right? So basically, we deal with data set and data adapter under ADO.NET. And connection is the most important thing with which database you are going to connect. Then how monitoring plays a very important role, right? How once your system is operational, right, you have to monitor SQL Server. So you can write your SQL scripts, right? For example, you want to monitor your disk space for all the servers, right? Say, for example, in your environment, you have 500 SQL instances hosted on 500 Windows servers. And on 500 servers, you have different disk drives for your data file, log file, and backup files, right? And you want to monitor your disk space, and for that, you define a threshold that if the total space size goes beyond total space size, total occupied space size for a particular drive goes beyond 80 or 85%, there should be an alert sent to the DBA group mail, right? Sent to the DBAs on a group or on a DL, right? That you can do, right? Using a PowerShell script. And in PowerShell script, you will check disk space for each of the disk on each of the server. And then you can use the send mail message cmdlet from PowerShell to send the alert wherever the drive has reached the threshold or crossed the threshold, right? Likewise, you can, another monitoring feature here is if you have 500 servers, say, for example, in your environment, right? And on every server, on average, you have at least 5 to 10 jobs. You may have hundreds of jobs. I'm not denying to that fact. But at least for the database maintenance, you have 5 to 7 jobs, right, on each of the servers, starting from DBCC check, DB, right? Then you have backup, you have rebuild and reorganize index, you have update statistics. So at least you have these jobs on your instance. So now you can take proactive approach using the PowerShell, a script, using the PowerShell monitoring. What you have to do here, you have to create a PowerShell script that will check the status of each of the job that ran, that ran in last 24 hours. Because I am planning to schedule my PowerShell job for checking the failed jobs on each of the servers every day, right? So say, for example, when my L1 or L2 DBAs are coming in the morning, right? Before the business hour starts, right? Say, for example, the US business hour starts from 3:30 p.m. IST, right? And if my L1 and L2 DBAs comes in their shift either in the morning or noon, so if they get a consolidated mail for the failed jobs for all the servers, then they have the time to deal with those jobs, to identify the errors, why the job failed, and meantime my team can work, and they can resolve the issues for the reason why the job failed, and after that they can run that job successfully. So before the business starts, we can take proactive actions, right? I implemented many of the concepts in projects that I'm talking, right? So maybe a few people are known to this implementation that I implemented in the environment. I don't know whether I can see many participants are there, so I cannot check who is known to me. But I suppose, right, someone might be there here who know about me, that what I did in environment in last 10 years. So what is the, just a minute. What you can do, you can create a PowerShell script that will monitor the status of all the jobs, on all servers, and it will collect information for the failed jobs, and it will create a consolidated report for failed jobs with the job name and the server name, so that whenever the job fail, wherever the job has failed, right, DBA can go there, troubleshoot that failed job, and then run that job, right? So that is one thing. Another thing that is more important, that you should have monitoring in place when so that you can have a report of all your SQL services, whether they are in running state or on some of the servers. For any reason, your SQL server service may be in a stopped or in hung state for some reason, right? So we can create a PowerShell script that will gather the information for all the SQL services on all servers. Say, for examples, even I have 500 servers or 1,000 servers, that doesn't matter, right? And it will send me a consolidated report. Okay, we will cover. So today I'm not covering anything right now. So that report can be sent to the group of DBAs, right? And then they can log on to the server, and they can see that what is the reason behind the reason behind the failure of the service, why it is stopped, right? Or why we are not able to start that. So you can go there, you can find the reason, you can troubleshoot that. So monitoring plays a very important role, right? And you can monitor your CPU utilization, you can monitor your memory utilization, you can monitor your disk utilization, you can monitor your SQL servers services status, you can monitor the job status, right? Uh, there are multiple things that you can monitor, and you can send the report, right, either in HTML format or in CSV format, right? Or even if anything goes wrong that you think that you can write in the event log as well, right? So these are the things here. If you have a performance baseline established in your environment for SQL Server, right? Usually that I teach under my SQL performance tuning training course, performance metrics. I am not sure anyone from my performance tuning batch is here. So in the last class, I talk about performance baselining, how to how to establish performance baseline for your SQL Server. Anyone is there from my performance tuning batch? Yeah.
Hi Neeraj, I'm there, Balaji here.
Yeah, Balaji is there. So in the last class, we covered about performance baselining, right? Where
Yes,
we established the metrics against our four hardware resources: CPU, memory, then
disk.
disk, and a few metrics for network, right?
Correct.
So there are a lot of metrics. Metrics are nothing, but the counters that you have available under your performance counter tool, that is the Windows tool, performance, what we say that, performance monitor, right? Performance monitor. So under performance monitor, you have performance counters available for different hardware resources. Say, for example, for CPU, you have one counter that is known as percent privilege time, which denotes that what is the percentage utilization by your operating system, and not this device drivers. Uh, what is the percent utilization of processors by your operating system and its background processes and device drivers? That is one of the metrics. Another metrics is percent under the process object. That is the metrics. Percent privilege time is available under processor object. Another you have available under process object, and under process you have processor time, especially for SQL Server service. So process means service, and there you can capture the exact utilization of the processor by SQL service, right? So likewise, you have many metrics available under different hardware resources. Those are represented as objects in performance monitor. So that you can gather those metrics information, you can gather using PowerShell script as well. Then uh, exactly what I told you, that your administration starts with automation of SQL Server installation on local. So installing SQL Server on local server is very easy, right? But when you are asked to install SQL Server on remote server from one server to another server, that is a tough task, right? So we will learn about that during the course. Uh, Implement TD for databases. I already have talked. Transparent data encryption can be implemented on all databases on one instance or more than one instance, whatever you wish, using the PowerShell. But hence we have a restriction of the certificate, right? So we implement TD on one server using a single script, right? Because the the certificate varies from each of the instance, which is based on your master key, right? Then backup report for all the servers can be easily easily generated using PowerShell, that for which database backup was failed on all the databases, right? Since backup is very important for recovery of your database, I would not say disaster recovery. I would simply use the term recovery because disaster recovery is a big term, right? So you can take the backup of your sorry, not only you can take the backup of your databases using PowerShell script, but also you can generate the backup report. So my few students of the PowerShell batch already have done this in their environment, right? I don't think Ravi is here in this discussion. He is a student of my old batch. So he already has implemented this concept. A few, Dilip Bishkarma perhaps also has implemented this. Uh, this is, I don't know how many of you are known to this term, generate SOX report. What is the SOX report? This is a terminology that is given to the IT industry. Sometimes you are asked to generate SOX report, right? So if you are going to do this task manually, it will take a lot of time, right? But if you automate the generation of SOX report using PowerShell, you know that is wonderful that you can, and you can do that easily. So what SOX report is that business wants to ensure that apart from the DBAs, who else have access as sysdba, right? That is the objective of the SOX report, and accordingly then they contact the application team that why this account has admin access on the SQL server, right? Because that is somewhere in the organization it is considered as the violation of security. So business are very pretty much interested in generating the SOX report. Module 11 is very advanced one, where I already talked that yes, of course, not only installation of SQL Server, but creation of always on cluster. Then after creating the cluster, you create a ability group, then you create listener, then you add databases, you remove databases. Everything can be done with a single PowerShell script, right? So we will talk about these all things during the course. But guys, within 5 days, everything cannot be completed. So I will try to complete these two models, right, within these 5 days session. If time will allow, we will talk other topics as well, right? So far, we have only talked about the course, right? And what we are going to cover in the course, what we are going to cover in next 5 days. Any question, any query you have, feel free to ask.
How many classes we are going to teach?
It is not hard and fast. It depends upon, how candidates are grasping the concept, because most of the DBAs don't have programming background. So it is not like that I will just deliver the session, right? So my teaching method is somewhat different. When I will teach you about the, suppose for example, if construct, right? I will I will teach about this, and at the same time I will give you 5 or 10 minutes time, and I will ask you that can you write this program using the if construct, right? I want to ensure that whatever programming contents I am delivering, you are getting that. Then only you will get benefited. So it may take 15 to 20 classes, max 20. But again, I am saying it is not like that I will finish the course in 20 classes. If it will require more classes, right, I will go with that. It can go up to 25 classes, right? So it all
So
depends. Yeah.
How much are you, I mean, are you charging for 20 to 25 classes?
Yes, after 5 classes, you will be charged.
How much is it?
Let us go with these all first, right? 5 days classes, we will decide.
Because the first 2 modules, it's available everywhere, in fact, in online also. The rest of the modules are important actually.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure if we can judge from first 2 modules itself.
Mhm.
That's my fear.
Mhm.
If you can tell us how much it is, then it would be beneficial for most of us.
Okay.
Yes, I agree with that. It should be clear, like everyone will.
I think one more question. As per the note, you will provide the scripts at the end of the all module to the person who is paying.
I will provide you a script. I will provide you document as well. So let me show you. In the document, scripts are already there, right? But apart from that, there are many scripts I have which are already implemented in the production, right? So that I will share with you as well. Where I am in SQL Docs. Let me show you the scripts. SQL Docs, PowerShell scripts. What is that? SQL PT Docs. So say for example, just take an example here of any of the document. Say for example, I am taking this monitoring and automating SQL Server, right? So here we have these topics: checking error logs, failed jobs, disk space users, block processes, and performance metrics, right? This is about the concept, right? This is the script that you have, right? This is for monitoring failed jobs, right? This is already implemented in the environment. This is for alerting on disk space used, right? You can see this is already implemented in the environment with the same mail, right? So in each of the document, you will see scripts are there, right? You can learn that and you can implement that in each of the document. There are a lot of documents you can see here. Instance connection, SQL Server via PowerShell. Let us see this. These are the methods you have. Snaps in assemblies, CMD lets, SMO I talked, right? Then these are the assemblies you have. This is your script. This is the SMO object I'm talking here. So every document has a script, but apart from that, let me show you something else also. So here we have, you can see the scripts, right? Add DB to AZ. Let me show you. You see here, you can see that itself, this is implemented in production. Right, this is just an example for adding DB to the to this one. This is for AZ listener. Where is the cluster creation? Say for example, this is cluster command, create AZ, create cluster. See this. Let me open it. So you will be provided with the script as well, not only the document. Although the document has that also, right? Here you can see we are creating a 2-node cluster. First, you have to enter the name of the first cluster, then the second cluster, then you have to enter cluster name. Then you have to enter the cluster IP address, right? After that, it is going to create that, right? Password. These are the things that you will learn. Why convert to secure a string is necessary here, right? Then these are some of the actions that have been taken. The firewall rule is open for port number 1433 that you will see, right? For SQL Server, the port, the firewall is open. Then we have to install some Windows feature for failover clustering, right? These are the modules that you will have to install. And after that, we have to, provision the cluster under the script block. So these are the things here. Then finally, we are designing the cluster quorum, right? Using the set cluster quorum, and my always on cluster is created now, right? So scripts are here, which are already implemented in production. Those will be shared with you as well. No problem in that. So guys, I will be back in a minute and we will continue that. Just pausing this recording. So one request to all of you, please ping your email ID in the chat window so that I can send you this syllabus along with the recording, right? Of few classes, not all classes. I will send you recording of a few classes. So please ping your email ID, you will get that. Meanwhile, let us start to get acquainted with PowerShell now. So it doesn't matter whether you are on a client operating system or on a server operating system. Windows 7, Windows 10 that we have is a client operating system, and the servers, Windows Server 2012, Windows Server 2016, a standard or data center editions that we have are server, version of Windows Server. So PowerShell ships be with each of the operating system. That's why you don't have to install it. There is a background noise. Right? To start PowerShell, what you have to do, type in your search box PowerShell, and you will see a few things that will appear on your PowerShell in your search window here, right? So on the top, you see Windows PowerShell ISE, and just bottom and just after that, you see Windows PowerShell, right? So the first one provides you integrated development environment for PowerShell. When I say integrated development environment, means that this is the place where you can develop your script, right? And PowerShell ISE help you or help developers in developing the scripts. Why I am using this term? Because it uses the IntelliSense feature, right? So if you have to develop any script, right, you must work in your Windows PowerShell ISE environment. You must always start PowerShell ISE as an administrator, right? So right click on this and start it as an administrator. That is the first thing. In the response to this message, click on yes. That will be started. This is your ISE here, right? Here, I can execute a PowerShell command that is known as commandlets, or I can write a block of a script and then I can use that script as well. So as we will write the script, right, you will get acquainted what are the different options which are important for us to learn here, right? So there was a query regarding the cost of the course. The cost of the course will be 10K in INR, right? And that has to be paid as a single installment, but not right now. The first 5 classes are free. If you will be interested to learn more stuffs, right, go through the entire course, then only you will have to pay. This is clear? Hello guys.
Clear.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is your PowerShell ISE. I'm not going to right now tell you about the different options which are available under different menus that you have right now. So this is your PowerShell ISE. The second is your PowerShell prompt. So PowerShell and type in PowerShell completely, SHELL, and this is your PowerShell. But when you will run this, you will be on the PowerShell prompt, right? So this is basically used for executing PowerShell commands, right? This is basically used for executing PowerShell commands, which is known as PowerShell commandlets. But you can also execute scripts from here also. But if I have a better facility, why I should execute scripts from here, right? If I have ISE environment as well, right? Integrated development environment, if I have, why should execute the scripts from here? But we will learn also how to execute scripts from here. So these are the 2 environments that you have for PowerShell, right? Now, this is not your command prompt. This is your PowerShell prompt, right? From where the concept of command prompt is coming. Every operating system, you know, has a cell, and that cell has a command prompt, right? So there are 2 major parts of any operating system. The first is your kernel and second is your cell, right? So start the command prompt with run as administrator. Here we are. Now, this is the cell, this is the command prompt, right, of the cell of Windows operating system. This is Windows 10 or any operating system, right? Whether it is server or a client version, whether it is Windows operating system, whether it is Unix or Linux, it doesn't matter. Every operating system has 2 major components, kernel and cell, right? You might have learned about these in your college days, if I am correct. How many of you have learned that? Kernel and cell, how many of you know? No one? You must have learned that, right? But
Yeah.
you, right now,
Yes,
you do not.
yes, yes, we learn and forget it.
Yeah. So just let me show you that picture you will be in the flash then. Kernel and cell. Every operating system has its kernel and has its cell as well. Let us see this picture. What is this? Let us see this. This is the most popular picture, right? So my operating system, right, actually installed on a metal box that we refer as hardware, which has motherboard on which we have processors, RAM, right, which is connected to the peripheral devices such as mouse, disk, etc. Operating system has two major components, that is kernel and cell. Kernel is the core of any operating system that interacts with the computer hardware, right? And cell is another part of operating system which interacts with what? Users, right? So that's why I told you that I am on command prompt, and command prompt, you know, is the cell interface of the Windows operating system, right? Now see how these things are coming in picture. I am just executing a command here, det, right? And if I enter this, I will get the current date. How I am getting this, right? How I am getting this. So this date is a command that is defined in the cell of the Windows operating system, right? Det is an internal command of DOS, and that is defined in the cell of the Windows operating system, right? So this command is well accepted by cell, and then it was passed to the kernel, and kernel interacted with the system clock, which is installed on my motherboard, whether it is physical or whether it is virtual, it doesn't matter. But every system has a clock, right? It interacted with the clock. Clock is a hardware, right? So cell interacts with the user, or we can say user interacts with cell, and then cell accepts the commands of the users and it passes to the kernel. Kernel interacts with the hardware, right? It get the information, then it pass back to the cell, and then cell pass back the information to the user. That is also true for PowerShell also, right? If I want to get the det from PowerShell, now I will write a commandlet. I am writing a command here, but it is known as commandlet. So I will write the commandlet as get det, right? So this is a commandlet where det was a command in DOS, right? But in PowerShell, get det is a commandlet. Both is giving me same information. It means that PowerShell also has a cell which interacts with the kernel, and then it gives me the information, right? So just I told you that get det is a commandlet, right? Every commandlet is nothing, but a class created internally in PowerShell. It is a class created in PowerShell. That's why they are known as commandlets. They are not known as command. And every commandlet has a, definite pattern, right? So get is here a verb and det is a noun. These two are separated by hyphen. Get hyphen det. Get is noun, hyphen det is get is verb hyphen date is noun. Likewise, I can execute get service, right? So it lists all the services which are running on this machine, all the services which are running on this machine, right? Again, you see get is a verb and service is noun here. These two are separated by the comma, by the hyphen, right? So that is the difference. In DOS, we have commands, and here in PowerShell, we have commandlets. Let us talk more on this. Let us come to the command prompt here. Every operating system has a version, right? I'm not sure if this will work, but let me give you a try. Version should work. VR, yes, it is working. It is saying the version of Windows as 10.0.19042.1348. Windows 10 is the version, right? Major version is 10, followed by the minor version and builds, right? So it has a version. PowerShell also has version. The PowerShell version starts from version 1. Nowadays, we have latest PowerShell as version 7. Let us check what is the version of my PowerShell on this system. I believe it should be version 5. So here the command is var, and here the commandlet is get ps version, and it should be table, right? It's not working. What's wrong in it? Okay, then it should be simply var ps version table.
I think $PS version.
Sorry, it should be dollar. Yes, it's an automatic variable here. So it's not a command. It should be correct.
PS version.
Yes. So it's an automatic variable. It's not a command. Remember that, right? That is the difference. It is $PS version table is an automatic variable in PowerShell, right? Or we can say that it's a system defined variable. We cannot change it. And this is not a commandlet, but this is the way we can get the version information of the PowerShell, right? So the version is, major version is power year 5, right? And the latest is 7. The PowerShell version 5 is very powerful, right? And which has many of the features available now, such as most of the powerful feature that was introduced in PowerShell version 5 was desired state configuration, right? So that is not included in the course, right? Desired state of configuration, because that is something what we use to achieve the DevOps kind of operations that we want to perform using the DSC. But since most of the people or most of the organization in the market are, using what I would say, either Teradata or Ansible or GitLab Runner, right, as a DevOps tool. So DSC does not have much uses there, right? Recently, I had a discussion to automate, provisioning of Azure SQL, single DBA, single DB database, single database, and Azure SQL managed instance. So the suggestion for using the PowerShell DSC was discarded. People and clients are in most of the cases using Teradata
Yeah, you mean Terraform, yeah?
Yeah, Terraform, not Teradata. Teradata is a, data warehouse, right? Terraform. You should go with Terraform, right? So these are the few.
So,
Mhm.
so what is the problem with using PowerShell instead of Terraform? I mean, how is that advantageous?
See, actually, it's not only about SQL Server. When organization tends to implement automation or DevOps for their organization, when any company decides to go with a particular DevOps approach, right? It's not, they would not only target for a single application. Not, they will not only consider about SQL Server. They will also consider about Oracle. They will also consider about Postgres. They will also consider about Cosmos DB, Azure Synapse Analytics, right? Then Databricks, everything, right? Whatever you have, Data Lake, whatever you have for their automatic provisioning and maintenance, they will consider the tool. So for PowerShell is concerned, it has some implications which is basically based on Linux operating system with different applications. So that's why Teradata is most of the times opted by different companies or organizations. Okay.
Okay.
So now of the command cell, am I audible?
Yes, you
Hello
are audible.
guys, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I think that microphone was not working. It was unplugged somehow. Okay. So we have few minutes of time. Let's start to learn PowerShell variables now. When we talk about variables, we have to talk about data types, right? So my simple question is, what do you mean by a variable? Right? If I write here, say for example, $num equals to 10. You should ask the question, why I put a $sign before the num, right? How many of you are from non-programming background? You all are from programming background?
No.
No, I'm also not.
Yeah, that is why I'm asking. So here see, num equals to 10. I'm writing this. Num equals to 10. If I hit the enter, you see the error there, right? But
Yes.
let me come here. Let me start SQL Server Management Studio as well. It will take some time. But meanwhile, let us discuss here. But now, if I write here, $num equals to 10, it will be accepted by PowerShell. The question is why, right? This is the syntax that every variable in PowerShell must be prefixed with $. Got it? So the value that I've assigned in num is 10. Here num is a variable. That is the first thing to understand, right? A variable is nothing but a named location in memory. Got it? This is stored in memory. if I want to get the value, or if I want to print the value of num, I will simply put here $num and it displays the result. That is, the value 10 is stored. If I again execute it, I will get the same value. Again execute it, I will get the same value, right? Why? Because the value of num is stored in memory, right? In some location. That's why I'm getting that value 10, 10, 10 every time, right? So a variable is what? A variable is a named location in memory, right? You will have more clarity on variable. Let it come. If you see here, I'm again writing in T-SQL here, num equals to 10, right? Print num. Will it work? Never, because I'm not following its syntax. Why? There are some wonderful things to capture here. Before I use this num variable, I have to declare it in SQL Server, right? So I will write declare at the rate. In SQL Server, every variable has to be prefixed with at the rate sign, right? So every language has its own syntax, right? That you have to follow. So now this variable, there are few points I want your eagle eyes here, right? You have to capture. Declare at the rate num. Is it enough? No. I have to declare its type, right? Just wait. I'm putting here set now at the rate num equals to 10. Still you see error is here, right? Why? Because I have to declare its type. Now I am declaring its type, right? Declare num int. So there are a few things. Before using a variable in SQL Server, you have to declare that variable with its type. That is not the limitation in PowerShell. That is the beauty of PowerShell, right? Let us clear this prompt here. And now I am simply writing $num1 equals to 20, right? It will be acceptable. I didn't declare the variable. I didn't declare its type. Got it? These are the very basic things and very important things to understand. In any of the programming language, whether it is C, whether it is C++, whether it is C#, right, or Java, everywhere you have to declare the type of the variable before you use that. But in PowerShell, you don't have to declare the type of a variable, right, to use it. Whatever the value you are assigning, accordingly, its type will be assigned internally itself. So we have assigned a numeric value that is 20. And if we check the type of the variable num1, it will give me as integer. Let us see it. So the variable name is, let us see the value. What is stored in it? $num1. Here it is 20, right? Now I want to see what is the type of this variable num1. Okay. So for that, $num1 dot, and get type is one of the method here that will list its type here. Get type, if I am correct, it should work. Yes, you can see it's a integer type variable. It's a integer type variable, int32. You can see here, right? Now let us create another variable. $name equals to, within double quote, I'm writing here my name as Neeraj, right? So this value will be stored here. If I see the value where is stored here, so I see Neeraj is stored here. Now I want to check its type. What is the type of this? What is the type of this variable name, right? So dollar name dot get type. What is the type here? It should be of a string type, right? But you see the difference here. In the first one, the base type is system.value type. The second is here system.object type. A string is created as an object there, right? So this name variable that I created is now an object, and it has many properties. Let us come to switch to the PowerShell ISE, then I can show you more things. Are you getting, guys, what I'm explaining?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Neeraj.
Okay. So let us do the same thing here. Dollar name equals to what's happening? Oh, it's not working. Now, this is the beauty of your integrated development environment, ISE, that is provided by. So the variable that you have declared is appearing as in the list. You can pick from here. You don't have to type the name. That is the first thing. Now, just type this dot here. This is an object. So it has multiple properties and methods. You see here? So length is one of the property here, right? And these are the methods that you have for this variable name, right? If I want to, find out the length of this variable, what is the length of this variable, right? I can assign it to a variable. So this will give me the length, right? Let me show you. In order to run this, what you have to do, you have to execute it. So to execute the script, you have to click on the run button. You got this length of this variable. There are 6 characters in this, right? This you can assign in a variable to whatever the length you have got, right? So dollar lane, right, equals to, you have assigned that. Now you can work on that. Print, you can simply print this value of lane, right? Or to write something on the screen, you have a commandlet that is known as write host. You see here in the write host, your first part is verb, that is right, and host is your noun, right? So again, write host is a cmdlet or commandlet, which is separated by a hyphen. Write host, and whatever you want to write, that you can write. So I want to print the value of the length dollar length. It will print me the value of this variable, right? In order to clear the screen, right, the output window that you have here, you can click on this incline T button, clear console pane. This is your console pane here, or the output window that is clear. And now you can run it. You can see the length is 6. It is appearing 2 times because I use this also. So if I do not use it, it will display me the length of this variable, right? That is 6. So today we learned about, very basics of the PowerShell, right? where we talked about what PowerShell is, what we can do with PowerShell. We talked about the course, right? And then the data type, but not all we have covered. So tomorrow we will talk about data types in PowerShell, and we will see how many operators we can talk tomorrow. So different kinds of operators you have. You have arithmetic operators such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and then for the modulus operator, you have percent sign to find the remainder, right? Then you have string operators that we will talk. String operators has a very wide range that we will talk about. Then you have some of the data operators that we will talk. So different kinds of operators that you have that we will talk. So once data type and operators will be finished, then we will enter into programming section, right? So just I am concluding the class for today. We have already crossed the time. So this is all from me for today, guys. I will share this recording with all of you, whosoever has shared their email ID. I will share the recording with the course syllabus that we have to all of you, and let us connect tomorrow to continue with the learning of remaining PowerShell. So tomorrow will be day 2, and the target will be to talk about data types in PowerShell with different kinds of operators, right? Arithmetic operators, logical operators, string operators, data operators. This all we will talk about tomorrow. Okay. So this is all from me for today. If you have any question, feel free to ask. I will be happy to answer.
No questions. We're good.
So every commandlet is basically a class, because
Yes.
class and object there I got a bit confused. Which one? Okay. Every
Commandlet is based on a class. I will define. I will explain about this on tomorrow. Okay, how CMDlets has been created in PowerShell. I will talk about that first. Okay.
Okay.
Even if you are good in PowerShell, or if you are good in C#, right, you can create your own CMDlets as well.
Okay.
So these are all CMDlets are basically presentation of classes. Let me copy this first on the safe place. Then only I will be able to send you all. What is that? Let me stop this recording. Someone is entering very late. Who has just entered?